Well, the floor maltings here at Laphroaig adds very unique flavours to our spirit character. It gives it the kind of salty medicinal flavour that's unique to Laphroaig. We get that through 2 or 3 different things. With the floor maltings, you're taking in some of the outside elements, as you can see. And then when we're kilning it, we peat it first before we dry it. And we're the only distillery that do this. What happens is in any other commercial maltings and every other floor maltings, they peat and dry at the same time. And what this gives you is a smaller amount of smoke flavours into your malt. Whereas at Laphroaig, because we peat first at a low temperature and then we dry off, it gives us a wider range of smoke or phenol flavours. Well, what we do, we get the barley in first. We'll steep it for just over 2 days, about 51, 52 hours. What we do here, we give it 3 wettings to basically take it out of dormancy and start the germination process again. What we then do, we'll put it on the floor, as you see behind us here, and we'll then, depending on the time of year, we'll let it germinate for 6 or 7 days. In the summer it'll be 6 days because the outside, the ambient temperature is warmer. So 7 days to give us the kind of maximum amount of enzymes or sugar level in the malt, and then we kiln it after that for further just over a day.
And what's going on in the background here behind us right now?
Well, what's happening is as the green malt's germinating, it starts to produce CO2, and this heats up the floor, and the temperature of the floor dictates the growth of the floor. So what we have to do, we have to release the temperature to control the growth, basically.
John, you were saying there's a big difference. The way you control the speed of malting is by controlling the temperature.
Yeah.
Explain the differences between summer and winter.
Well, what happens is outside in the summer, the ambient temperature's a wee bit higher, so it affects the growth of the floor. Whereas in the winter, it's pretty cold here just now, so it needs the extra day to get the germination right.
And do you think, we've just had a couple of big storms the last few days, do you think that makes any difference?
It does to us, the way it's processed, because sometimes it puts moisture in the air, so that affects the floor as well. And so what happens is it maybe doesn't lose the moisture, so if it's not losing moisture, it's not growing so quick. So that, again, we have to react to this and kind of batten down the hatches, if you like.
And so for anyone who's out there looking at Laphroaig saying, okay, what's the essential difference of Laphroaig? Do you think this is it? This
is one of them, definitely, yep. It's something, again, that makes us unique, the way we do it. There are 98 distilleries, 5 of them only have a floor maltings, and we're the only one that does it this way, so I'd say it does make us unique. Yeah.
We're standing in one of the kilns at Laphroaig. Tell us a little bit about the background, the history of this kiln.
Well, this part of the original building. They were upgraded in 1923, and what they did in 1923, they doubled. We've got this kiln, which is called the road kiln, and the one next door is called the shore, and we also added 2 extra floors in our maltings to triple the capacity of the distillery. Back then, all the malt would have been produced on site.
And when you load the malt in here, how much comes in?
Well, we put it into kind of 7-ton batches, and from that we get about 5.5 to 6 tons of malt. It's in here for, say, about 34 hours. And
you're saying it goes up to the top of the tiles over here?
Yeah, it goes. The depth of the floor will be top of the tile we see going around the edge here. We don't want it too deep as well, so that we get a nice even dry off as well when we're taking the moisture out of it at the end.
Now, once it's in the kiln, it's not turned again, is it? It just stays there until it's dried.
Yeah, and that's another reason why the depth is crucial as well. What we do, we kind of set it off. The guy will come in and check it, and maybe kind of loosen up bits, but that's about it. We don't turn it at all.
And how much phenolic content do you generally like to see in the grain?
The one that everyone measures against is it's different. At the bottom of the floor, it'll be maybe about 80, 90 parts per million, and the top will maybe be about 20. So we can average about maybe 60 in the middle, somewhere about there for our phenols.
Okay, and so having been built before the 1920s, this kiln has seen a few peat fires.
Yeah, and hopefully lots in the years to come as well. Yep.
So how much we've seen the malting floor, and now we're looking at the we're in the kiln. Combining those two factors, how much of that would you say contributes to the particular taste of Laphroaig?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is the thing, and if I was able to show you the bought-in malt against the Laphroaig malt, and we did a tasting on that, or a nosing on that, you could feel the difference. In the water supply for the distillery, what we do, we have a catchment area up the north of us, and it feeds down into what we call Laphroaig. It holds about 5 million gallon, and the bottom of this is basically peat based, so it does pick up a lot of the minerals, flavours, and it runs down through what we call a culvert, which is just an open track in the ground, down to the distillery. Again, picking up the peat flavours and that, so it is flavoured water when it gets to the distillery. This impacts because what we're basically doing in the mash house, we're heating it up to 85 Celsius, and then we spray it onto the top of the mash to flush out the flavours. And also in the maltings, we use it to steep, so again, flavouring out barley with the water. The other way is in the finished product, and with Laphroaig it's very different. If you take it neat, the 10-year-old, you'll find that you get lots of salty flavours, medicinal, and quite sweet as well though. But when you add water, the spirit becomes very, very different. What you'll find is that the salty aftertaste goes, and you're left with more peatier nose and also a peatier aftertaste as well.
Now, in the distilling process, there's a lot of conjecture as to whether the peated water makes a difference to the ultimate flavour of the whisky. What do you think on that? Given all the heating and cooling that goes on during the process and then the aging process, do you think the water supply that you use in making the whisky adds to or does not add to the flavour?
Yeah, I think it does slightly. I don't think it's as big as maybe 4 to 5% of the flavour when we come through the water. I definitely think it does influence. And also with peaty water, you have a different pH, and it's kind of softer, harder water. That influences will affect the flavour as well.